Good morning. Guten Morgen. It's a great joy to welcome media present in the Gartenhalle in Karlsruhe. My name is Marianne Eidersten, Director of Communication in the World Council of Churches. And we have to first of all to apologize that some of the media plan to be in this room at the moment. We had a computer crash and some of them are lined up outside. Hopefully they are able to turn on the live streaming and follow. For those who has got the accreditation are also able to send questions in the Zoom call. And we promise to treat you equal if you are present on site or online. This is the new way of handling media operation. And we are very grateful that we have journalists from all over the world following the 11th WCC Assembly in Karlsruhe. We have also interpretation available. It's for those in the room, channel 8 for English, channel 5 for German, channel 3 for Spanish, channel 4 for French. And if you need any support, if you follow online, reach out to the WCC Communication, ready to support you anytime. Or if you are in the room with me, we have several WCC staff ready to support you whenever you need us. It's a great pleasure to invite the panel. 7 in the panel. Next, Dr. Agnes Abum, the moderator of the WCC Central Committee. She's been leading the WCC since Busan 2013. Next to her, we have His Eminence Metropolitan Nifon, Vice Moderator of the WCC Central Committee. He took up his position in June after late Metropolitan Gennadios, who passed away 1st of June. He should also have been present here today, also as the Assembly Planning Committee Moderator. Next to Metropolitan Nifon, we have Bishop Marianne Svensson, Vice Moderator of the WCC Central Committee. Then we have Reverend Professor Dr. Johan Sauka, Acting General Secretary of the World Council of Churches since April 2020, and the one in charge to lead the Assembly. Next to him, we have Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber, Evangelical Church in Germany, also the moderator of the local host committee, but also a member of the WCC Central Committee since Busan. We have also Bishop Professor Dr. Heike Springhart, the Protestant Church in Baden, also moderator of the local host committee. And then Dr. Frank Mentrup, the Lord Mayor of the city of Karlsruhe. Warm welcome. And we are very grateful to have the panel together at the first day of the Assembly when we know that it's a very, very busy day ahead of us. So thanks for taking the time to meet with me and the media present. I have invited the panelists to present their expectations on the 11th Assembly. And they will do that more from a personal point of view. After their presentation, we will open the floor. You are able to ask questions. If you are online, you are typing in the chat and my team will pick them up and we will invite you to either ask your question by yourself or we will read the question to the panel. If you are in the room, then I have my colleague Klaus Grue next to me. He will keep an eye on who want to ask questions in this room. Any other questions from the media in the room at the moment? Then we are ready to listen to Dr. Agnes Abum.
Thank you, Marianne. Good morning. It is an honor for us to be on this panel and share with you our expectations of the 11th World Council Assembly. As you all know, the theme is Christ's love moves the world to reconciliation and unity. As a pilgrim, among other pilgrims who are here, we come from Busan to this stop with great expectation. My own expectation was that Karlsruhe would provide an ambience for spiritual celebration, for celebration of creation, for celebration of life. And so far, I have seen that. The hospitality already points to the compassion that we are talking about. My second expectation was that, and is, that participants, delegates, all categories of people will acknowledge one another, listen, share openly as we design God's way and will for the future of humanity, the future of creation. Coming here to Karlsruhe, we were invited and reminded that it is an area in Germany that really has a confluence of issues that are global. And therefore, as we will be reflecting on those global issues, we will, as my own pilgrim person, be wanting to see how are the churches, how is civil society, how is the government addressing these issues. Those stories, those experiences, those actions will help me. It is my hope and prayer as I go home to share with my church, my community, and my people. So I am very, very expectant of this assembly, and so far we have started well. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Dr. Agnes. And I would like to also ask you, when did you attend the first assembly, and what did you do then for the media's sake?
Yeah, well, rather personal, yes. You will recollect, some of you, that the fifth assembly was to be held in Indonesia. But because of the political situation, last minute, the assembly was moved to Nairobi in 1975. I was a casualty of student politics, so the church had already taken me to assist with the church newspaper called Target, and the assembly adopted this paper as an assembly paper. So, as a young woman, I was there supporting the assembly as a steward, distributing the assembly newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agnes. Then we turn to Metropolitan Nifon. The floor is yours. And
Thank you very much, Marianne. Well, we are supposed to answer very briefly about our expectations of this General Assembly, the 11th one, which is taking place in this wonderful town. Well, there are so many expectations. Depends on the people who are involved and the convictions and the ideals which each one of us has, and the hope which is put in this assembly. Of course, it's a very wonderful Christian fellowship to be together, to share the difficulties, to share the joys of living the Christian faith. However, if I have to say what is the main expectation, well, I would like to confess to you that the Christian visible unity is, for me, the expectation. Doesn't matter how much we achieve out of that, but I hope that this General Assembly, who is the highest decision-making body of the ecumenical movement, and you know very well that we are talking about 352 member churches, will have programs that will continue to search for Christian visible unity. But at the same time, we should not neglect the sufferings of this world, and to alleviate all these sufferings, to contribute rather to the alleviation of such sufferings, we have to be united within our Christian world fellowship. So we could continue to discuss about that, but I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Metropolitan Nifon. Then we turn to Bishop Marianne Svensson.
Thank you so very much. For me, briefly said, I hope that when we leave here, we will become more perfect in our love of God and of neighbor. Over these last 9 years, we've been on a pilgrimage of justice and peace, and we have journeyed to different places and people in the world where we could walk alongside them in their woundedness, when we could celebrate with them their giftedness, and when we could work together for transformation, to grow in our discipleship and to make a difference in the world. And now, as we come to this place and this assembly, we truly are coming as a fellowship of love, and we want to live as an ecumenism of the heart, and we want to be a people in a sense that are like countercultural, because there is so much violence in the world, and we want to be able to be the kind of Christian community where people can look upon us like they did in the early church when they said, see how they love one another, see how they pray to their Lord, see how they serve their neighbor. And we want to be able to witness and to show that kind of Christian community to the world, and to be able to make a difference in the world. There's so much violence in the world, and we have so many challenges. I need to share to you that I live in Southern California, and in the year 2022, I saw 1 day of rain last January. So I give thanks to God that I could come to Karlsruhe and actually see rain and celebrate rain on the planet. But certainly the climate issues in our time are such huge issues, and we will be working and addressing those and hoping to make a difference there, along with the other issues. But we really do want to become more perfect in love, and to love one another, and to share that love with the world. That's my hope and my expectation. I got to say one more thing. I was really excited because we had a pre-assembly with young people, and there's this huge gathering of young people that are here, and there's a sense in which that gathering of young people are truly our hope for the future and are going to make such a difference, and they're going to be the ones to see the fruits of the labor that we have been trying to do these past years.
Thank you very much, Bishop Marianne Svensson. Then we turn to Reverend Professor Dr. Johan Sauka, Acting General Secretary of the World Council of Churches.
Thank you so much. For me, this almost 3 years in the position of Acting General Secretary was an eye-opener. I saw that the real captain of the ecumenical boat is none of us, but is Christ himself. And everything that we have here is a miracle. Even a few months ago, we were not sure that we have an assembly. Now we have it. Second, I heard some people even today speaking about an ecumenical winter. I experienced these 3 years as an ecumenical spring. People need us. As Christians, we need to be together. The World Council of Churches became an existential reality. There are certain topics that we have to face as Christians, not waiting to achieve theological agreements, but to come together as Christians addressing the burning challenges of the world. I see the ecological justice. And I heard scientists saying, if we don't stop misbehaving and exploiting the creation, in 50 years, the earth cannot be inhabited anymore. It's a spiritual duty as Christians to address the care for creation. I saw the issue of racial justice coming again in power. We have to address that as Christians. It's as important to address it as to address other topics of theological agreements. We have the world hunger. People are dying. We cannot wait to reach theological agreements in certain topics, but to address the world from our Christian perspective. Second thing, when we proposed this theme, I remember 4 or 5 years ago, many said this is a meaningless theme, Christ, unity, reconciliation, what is this? The COVID pandemic showed us this was a providential choice. More than ever now, people are asking for reconciliation, healing, and unity. I said that because many say this assembly maybe is as difficult as the assembly in Amsterdam in 1948. We have a new geopolitical reality. We have new tensions everywhere. We have divisions all over. And the churches are part of those divisions. And we are asking to come to bring about reconciliation and healing in a divided world. So what is my expectation? Karlsruhe will be a new beginning. We have to come together as Christians, more united in addressing the challenges of the world. Because Christian unity is linked to the unity of all creation. And as you say in the theme, God's plan for the world was the unity of all. So this is my expectation from the Karlsruhe Assembly.
Thank you very much, Father Johan Sauka. Then we turn to Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber, Evangelical Church in Germany, and also the co-moderator of the local host committee. The floor is yours, and I think you will speak in German. And then please turn on channel 8 for English, 5 for German, 3 for Spanish, 4 for French.
Ja, das mache ich gerne. Ich kann Ihnen gar nicht sagen, wie sehr ich mich freue, Sie alle hier zu sehen. Es gab schwarze Tage in meinem Leben, da habe ich gedacht, diese Vollversammlung in Karlsruhe, die wird nie passieren. Das war vor allen Dingen in den Tiefen der Pandemie und ich hatte das Gefühl, wir sind irgendwo an einem toten Punkt angelangt. Dann gab es aber all die vielen Menschen, die die Hoffnung nicht aufgegeben haben. Die saßen im Ökumenischen Rat der Kirchen, die saßen in der Badischen Landeskirche, die saßen hier bei der Stadt in Karlsruhe, in der EKD, in der Arbeitsgemeinschaft christlicher Kirchen und haben das unterstrichen, was der Generalsekretär gerade gesagt hat. Vielleicht gab es noch nie eine Zeit, in der wir die Vollversammlung des Ökumenischen Rates der Kirchen so dringend gebraucht haben wie unsere. Und ich hoffe, es wird uns gelingen, eine Botschaft ganz klar in die Mitte zu stellen und die heißt, Gott liebt das Leben. Und deshalb braucht er uns, um Gewalt, um Krieg, um Ausbeutung und all die anderen furchtbaren Entstellungen unserer Zeit, denen entgegenzutreten. Und ich glaube, die Energie des Heiligen Geistes ist hier. Und die Erfahrungen der Menschen, wie man Widerstand leistet, wie man eine Welt verändert, wie man auch Dinge, die uns zerstören, zum Besseren wendet, diese Erfahrungen sind alle hier versammelt. Und ich hoffe, dass diese Stimmen laut werden und dass wir ein großes Fest des Glaubens hier feiern werden.
Thank you very much, Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber. Then we turn to Bishop Professor Dr. Heike Springhardt, Protestant Church in Baden, and also the co-moderator of the local host committee. It's a pleasure to have both of you on stage at this moment.
Thank you very much. Ja, auch von meiner Seite herzlich willkommen hier in Karlsruhe. Meine Erwartungen an diese Vollversammlung sind groß und vor allen Dingen erwarte ich, dass hier passiert, was das Motto verspricht. Wer 8 Tage miteinander im Geist Christi unterwegs ist, wer sich nicht drückt vor den großen Themen, und die Themen liegen auf dem Tisch. Wir haben eine schwierige Weltlage, wir haben die Herausforderungen von Rassismus, Gewalt, Antisemitismus. Über diese Themen haben wir zu sprechen und das können wir ehrlich und offen und kontrovers, weil wir verbunden sind durch den Geist Christi. Und wir sind in der letzten Zeit viel und kontrovers gefragt worden, warum trefft ihr euch so alle miteinander? Und ich habe immer gesagt, wo, wenn nicht hier, bleibt der Gesprächsfaden erhalten. Und wer, wenn nicht wir, müsste die Hoffnung haben, dass Gespräche miteinander und Begegnungen etwas bewirken. Nicht nur auf der Bühne, sondern auf der Straße, beim Feiern. Und darauf setze ich meine Hoffnung. Wir haben hier in Karlsruhe und in unserer Region hier, im Südwesten Deutschlands und im Herzen Europas, können wir Geschichten von Versöhnung erzählen. Meine Großeltern, für die war Frankreich der Feind schlechthin. Heute merken wir kaum, wenn wir den Rhein überqueren, dass wir das Land wechseln. Wir haben als Badische Landeskirche eine gemeinsame Kapelle, die Chapelle de la Rencontre im Elsass. Wir haben engste Verbindungen und es ist nicht mehr vorstellbar, dass das Feinde waren. Und ich glaube, wir müssen uns diese Geschichten erzählen, hier auf dieser Vollversammlung, um für die schwierigen Themen, die vor uns liegen, Hoffnung zu haben und zu wissen, es kann sich etwas bewegen, wenn Menschen daran ernsthaft interessiert sind, wenn Unrecht benannt wird, wenn Kriege beendet werden und wenn wir klar einstehen gegen Gewalt in jeder Form. Insofern hoffe ich auf eine gerechte Zukunft für alle und darauf, dass Versöhnung und Einheit, die das Motto versprechen, verbunden sind, vor allen Dingen mit der Bewegung. Die Bewegung, in die Christus uns setzt und die Bewegung, in die wir uns miteinander setzen, indem wir miteinander teilen, was uns im tiefsten Inneren bewegt. Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much, Bishop Heike Springhardt. Then we turn to Dr. Frank Mentrup, Mayor of the City of Karlsruhe. The floor is yours.
Ja, einen herzlichen guten Morgen erstmal auch von meiner Seite und ich darf Sie auch im Namen aller Karlsruherinnen und Karlsruher, ich glaube aber auch vieler Menschen über die Stadt hinaus, vor allem hier aus dem deutsch-französischen Grenzgebiet und ich darf auch vielleicht sagen, im Namen aller Europäerinnen und Europäer, wenn Sie von anderen Kontinenten hierher gekommen sind, ganz herzlich begrüßen. Es ist uns eine große Ehre, dass nach diesen vielen Jahren der Vorbereitung, und ich kann es auch immer noch nicht ganz glauben, aber es findet jetzt statt, diese Weltkonferenz hier in Karlsruhe stattfinden kann. Meine Erwartung knüpft an die Vorrednerinnen und Vorredner an. Es sollte ein Fest des christlichen Glaubens, es sollte ein Fest der Schöpfung werden, aber nicht als abgeschlossene Veranstaltung von Menschen, die immer einer Meinung sind, sondern als gemeinsames Bekenntnis von 352 Kirchen aus allen Kontinenten, die in vielen Detailfragen, vor allem auch unter politischen Aspekten, mit Sicherheit nicht einer Meinung sind. Und damit wird meine Erwartung verknüpft, dass es hier ein großes Vorbild dazu werden kann, ein Vorbild aber auch für alle anderen Religionsgemeinschaften, aber auch für die Gesellschaft insgesamt, dass es am Ende immer hilfreicher ist, im Dialog zu bleiben, mit Neugierde und Offenheit auf andere Menschen, andere Kulturen, andere Positionen zuzugehen und dass nur so am Ende nicht nur ein gemeinsames Ziel gefunden wird, sondern dass man dann auch ein Verständnis, ein spirituelles Verständnis entwickeln kann, wie auch die Politik über die Orientierung an harten Fakten hinaus hier die Welt insgesamt in eine richtige Richtung steuert. Wir wollen als Karlsruhe dazu beitragen, indem wir unsere Erfahrungen einbringen. Unsere Erfahrungen im deutsch-französischen Grenzgebiet in den nur wenigen Jahren der Stadtgeschichte, wir sind ja gerade mal 307 Jahre alt, gab es immer dann düstere Phasen, es gab immer einen kulturellen, einen sozialen und wirtschaftlichen Niedergang, wenn man in einem Kriegszustand mit Frankreich sich befand oder die Grenzen geschlossen waren. Und es ging uns im Herzen Europas immer gut, wenn diese Grenzen eigentlich keine Grenzen mehr waren oder sein sollten. Und ich kann an das, was Frau Professorin Springhardt angesprochen hat, nur anschließen. Es ist schon für meine Kinder, es ist aber auch für mich eigentlich unvorstellbar, dass sich teilweise die Großeltern, teilweise auch noch die Eltern im Schützengraben gegenüberstanden und Frankreich der Erzfeind Nummer 1 war. Und diese so positive Erfahrung, die hier in den letzten Jahrzehnten geschaffen wurde, die würden wir gerne als Vorbild verstehen und auch als Erfahrung vermitteln auf dieser Weltkonferenz. Und es ist ja wohl auch einer der Gründe gewesen, die Sie ja zur Entscheidung für uns herangezogen worden sind. Wir wollen aber auch unsere Begeisterung für Innovation einbringen, die wir in der Stadt haben. Wir wollen unsere Begeisterung für das Recht und eine gewisse Rechtsstaatlichkeit hier einbringen. Wir sind ja der Sitz des Bundesverfassungsgerichts, der Sitz des Bundesgerichtshofs, der Sitz der Bundesanwaltschaft, dem Generalbundesanwalt und des Forums Recht und damit so ein bisschen der Ort in Deutschland, an dem das Recht sicherlich am hochrangigsten gebündelt ist. Und wir wollen auch die Kultur und die Kunst einbringen, weil es gibt manchmal Antworten, die man auch über den Weg der Kultur und der Kunst besser finden kann, als sich nur auf der intellektuellen Ebene damit auseinanderzusetzen, wobei die Emotion der Kunst und der Intellekt auch immer etwas miteinander zu tun haben. Und als City of Media Arts ist das unser drittes großes Alleinstellungsmerkmal in Deutschland. Und auch das wollen wir gerne hier in die Diskussion einbringen. Am Ende wollen wir gute Gastgeberinnen und Gastgeber sein und wollen, dass alle unsere Gäste sich sehr, sehr gerne an Karlsruhe erinnern, wegen der Ergebnisse, aber auch wegen der Atmosphäre, die Sie hier angetroffen haben.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Now it's the time to invite media to ask a few questions. We can't promise you answer on all your questions at this moment. You know that we have the opening session coming up soon, and also in the afternoon we have President Steinmeier and Minister Kretsman coming. I will invite Klaus to invite 3 journalists to ask questions, and then we will also turn to those following online from all over the world.
Thank you so much, Marianne. And we will try to do this in a good order. So we take 3 questions from the audience here, and then we continue with the online questions. And we can start. We will hand you a microphone when it's your turn. And we kindly ask you to introduce yourself and the outlet that you come from before you ask your questions. So please, go ahead. Here, Jan Dirk.
Ja, guten Morgen. Ich möchte meine Frage in Deutsch stellen. Mein Name ist Jan de Kerbermann, ich schreibe für den Evangelischen Pressedienst. Ich bin der Korrespondent in Genf beim ÖRK. Ich möchte Sie zu dem Krieg in der Ukraine fragen. Dieser Krieg, der überschattet ja diese Konferenz und viele andere Konferenzen. Gleichzeitig haben wir Delegationen von der russisch-orthodoxen Kirche aus Moskau und von der orthodoxen Kirche aus der Ukraine hier. Was kann der ÖRK tun, damit diese Delegationen zueinander finden? Was kann der ÖRK tun, um ein Forum zu bieten, um diesen Krieg zumindest mal etwas schneller zu Ende zu bringen, als es jetzt aussieht? Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Who would like to answer that question concerning the war?
Maybe it's Father Johan Sauka, the acting general secretary.
A wound and a shadow on this conference, as we had others in the past. Yet the Central Committee mandated me to go to Ukraine and make sure that Ukrainians are part of the assembly and we don't keep ourselves talking about Ukrainians without having Ukrainians present. I'm happy to report that we have now 11 Ukrainians who are present here. They will speak for themselves. We also have a Russian delegation, although there are many who are asking to expel the Russians from the World Council of Churches. The Central Committee in June analyzed in depth after many people coming to the microphone, and all came to the decision that the World Council of Churches is a free space for dialogue. And we come together not because we agree with one another, but because we disagree. So the proposal to expel the Russians was not approved, and unanimously the decision was taken that WCC keeps its identity as a free space of dialogue. And I was happy to hear the mayor what ecumenical movement is about, is dialogue. What to do about the 2 delegations? To be personally, because I'm one Orthodox, I'm not very much afraid. Because publicly they challenge one another, but when they meet together, they can drink a beer together. And I saw even these days, especially the youth, I was quite impressed to have the one from Russia, the other from Ukraine, eating together at the table. So there are political divisions, there are church divisions. We have to acknowledge them, but also to see the value of the WCC as offering the platform for meeting a dialogue. Because this is for the first time they meet. They did not meet before. And also in the country, they have division. Now they come together as one community here in Karlsruhe. So let's see, I'm not a prophet to see what will be the debate, but they will have a chance to speak. And we enter in dialogue. And if there are ideas that we don't like or don't agree with, we challenge one another, because this is what happens when you have a dialogue around the table. So I have full of hopes.
Thank you very much for the Johan Sauka. Then I have also Dr. Agnes Abum who want to comment on that question. The floor is yours, Dr. Agnes.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for that incisive question. I think it is very important to remember the genesis of World Council of Churches being founded out of the ashes of the Second World War, 10 years behind schedule. The World Council of Churches is a global space, not only for member churches, regional churches, other bodies, but it is a global space that over the decades, fathers and mothers that have gone before us have sought to secure its sanctity in terms of creating open, safe moments, spaces for warring groups to dialogue. For some of you, you might remember Southern Africa. World Council of Churches was critical in offering spaces. In the recent past, we will remember the conflict between North and South Sudan. We have Korea, North and South Korea. So one of the things you asked, what are we planning to do? I don't think we plan on our own. What we hope, and as the General Secretary has rightly pointed out, is that through this space and being able to listen to each other's pain, wound, sorrow, but also expectation, we might find a way as a council of churches to help them, to support them, to accompany them. There is the whole issue of humanitarian assistance on both sides that is critical. So I think it is critical for us that it is divine that we can actually get these two delegations together. And that's a beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agnes Abum. And then I will also invite Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber to comment.
Deutsche Vertreterin etwas noch dazu sagen. Als 1948 in Amsterdam der ÖAK gegründet wurde, da war einer seiner ersten und für mich immer noch unvorstellbar schwierigen Entscheidungen, die deutschen Kirchen einzuladen, wieder Mitglied der kirchlichen Weltgemeinschaft zu werden. Man muss sich das vorstellen, da saßen die Vertreter all der Kirchen und all der Länder, die zum Opfer geworden sind der Gewaltherrschaft des Nationalsozialismus. Und die luden die deutschen Kirchen ein, wieder Mitglied zu werden im Ökumenischen Rat der Kirchen. Für mich ist das bis heute ein Wunder vor unseren Augen und war ein tiefes Motiv auch für die EKD und die anderen deutschen Kirchen, den ÖAK hierhin einzuladen. Aus tiefer Dankbarkeit. Wir wären heute nicht, wer wir sind, wenn es nicht diese unglaublich großzügige Geste der Versöhnung gegeben hätte, die ganz am Anfang unserer Geschichte mit dem ÖAK gestanden hat.
Thank you very much, Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber. Then we will turn to Klaus, a second question.
Thank you. One more question from this audience before we let in the online questions, a couple of them. Anyone? Come on, this is a press conference, right? This is an opportunity to get a response.
But maybe, Klaus, they need more time to formulate the question. We have received questions from Belfast and Scotland.
So perhaps we should take an online question in the meantime then.
And then we will ask for homework in the room here, at least one or two questions. But we will turn to our Zoom call and invite Marcello to read a question from Belfast. And that question will be to His Eminence Metropolitan Nifon. Marcello, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We have a question from Panelist from Belfast newsletter. How can the churches work?
We have a problem with the sound here.
For reconciliation in the world when they have deep faith and other divisions among themselves? How can the churches work credibly for reconciliation in the world when they have deep faith and other divisions among themselves?
The question.
If you repeat the question, I could understand everything.
I can repeat the question, Your Eminence. How can the churches work credibly for reconciliation in the world when they have deep faith and order divisions among themselves?
Yes, that is indeed a very good question. You see, sometimes we have to understand that we always say when we try to have a definition of the church, we say that is a human and divine institution. As far as the human dimension, it refers to human elements that can intervene in a way or another, in a time or another, so that make very difficult, you see, to express the unity as such. So there are superficial elements, not deep, let's say, elements of faith that divide churches. I'm sure you are referring to the Orthodox churches that have some problems among themselves. And this is something that refers to either autocephaly, that means independence of each church, national church, and so on. So there are specificities in terms of canonical organizational matters. Is not a question of the unity of the faith as such. So, yes, indeed, we have to struggle. We have to continue to affirm the unity of Orthodoxy, if you refer to that, and the unity in faith of all Christian churches and confessions. That's why we are here, in order to try and see to what extent we can also express our things that unite us, not only those who differentiate us. So that's my short answer.
Thank you very much, Metropolitan Nifon. Then I think the acting general secretary also want to comment.
I also understood faith and order are matters of dogmatic theology. How can we work together when we have the same understanding of sacramental theology, of priesthood, of Eucharist, and so on? Indeed, one of the main reasons of WC existence was to reach unity in faith and Eucharistic fellowship. We did many things, but there are still things to be done. Yet, in John 17 said that all may be one so that the world may believe. And the world, when they look at us, they don't ask us about 7 sacraments and about sacramental priesthood. They say, how do you behave a Christian translating your faith to the world problems today? So just to make a conclusion, our struggle remains to reach the unity in faith, which lead us together to Eucharistic fellowship. But in the meantime, to do something together for the world that the world may believe. And I quote now from somebody, a very high spirituality or spiritual person from Christian world, I don't give the name, who in a moment said, I tell you that even after the second coming of Jesus, the theologians may still have some issues to debate about. Let's not wait that moment. In the meantime, on the way of searching for full Christian unity, let's walk together and respond to the challenges of the world in light of our Christian faith. And I think this is the vocation of the ecumenical movement today, to work together on implementing gospel values in the challenges of the world.
Thank you, Father Johan Sauka. Then we will bring in also a few questions from the floor.
Yes, I think next in turn was the gentleman on the second row by the wall there.
Thank you very much. Volker Hasenauer von der Katholischen Nachrichtenagentur. Ich würde gerne fragen, es ist angekündigt auch eine Debatte über die Politik und Haltung Israels, gerade im Blick auf die Christen und die Palästinenser, also die Christen im Heiligen Land. Ich würde gerne wissen, wie der ÖAK sich auf diese Debatte eingestellt hat, beziehungsweise was Sie erwarten, auch im Blick auf diese Resolution aus Südafrika. Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. We will ask the acting general secretary to respond and maybe someone else also in the panel. But Father Johan Sauka, the floor is yours.
So you may see how busy I was during the 3 years in this interim position. Indeed, the issue is complicated and difficult. But before we take a decision or a debate, the Central Committee said, what are the churches there saying? So I visited Israel and Palestine, met with all the heads of the churches, went to Palestine and met with NGO Christian groups, listening to both to the leaders but also to the grassroots people. And I come now to share with the Assembly what do they say. Just to make you curious, please come and listen to my report. I don't want to disclose it now. But my conclusion is the world community don't take decisions which you think is good for some people in local situation. Especially as people from the West, we think we know everything and we give solutions. And we make resolutions on behalf of others. Our view was ask the local Christians what you think, what they think, and what is good for them, because they continue to survive in that place. So this is what I'm going to share with the Assembly this afternoon when I give my report.
Thank you, Father Johan. Then we have also Bishop Marianne Svensson, who's ready to respond.
For myself, as a bishop in the church, over the last 30 years, I've gone to the Holy Land, every couple of years, and continue to that pilgrimage myself. And in one of my trips with an ecumenical group of women leaders, everywhere we went, we met with women who were Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, who all were trying to work together for peace in the Holy Land and to make a difference in what are such deep, deep problems there. And as we watch the pain and the oppression of Palestinians get worse and worse, we continue that work. And I just give that as a background to say that what we at the World Council of Churches have done and continue to do that I believe truly makes the most difference, and I think Father Sauka alluded to this, is accompaniment. What we do is accompany the people in their struggles and in their journeys and try to make a difference as we can in every way we can so that people can live together. And we also try very much to increase the participation of the Christian community there. We believe it's so important not to have fewer and fewer Christians, but to have more and more Christians who are a part of life and witness in this, our heritage and our Holy Land as well. One of the most meaningful experiences we had was when Dr. Agnes and I could plant an olive tree in Palestine and hope for a future for that olive tree.
Thank you very much, Bishop Marianne Svensson. One more question from the floor, Klaus.
Yes, we have the lady in the third row here by the aisle, please.
Nur ein kleiner Nachtrag und Dank. Ich bin für die UNESCO und Parlament hier, Professor Schuchart, und möchte unterstreichen die Bereitschaft zum Dialog. Der Dank, Frau Bosse-Huber, den Sie als Beispiel brachten. Ich möchte nur erinnern, wir hätten die UNESCO nicht, wenn nicht 46 der Gründer gesagt hätte, und man achte auf die Sprache. Wenn Kriege in den Köpfen der Menschen entstehen, dann müssen auch die Bollwerke des Friedens in den Köpfen der Menschen entstehen. Und das war der Gründungsakt der Friedensarbeit in jetzt 157 Ländern. Darum danke für die Plattform des Dialogs.
Thank you very much. We have had some problems with the interpretation, so I wonder if the interpreter are able to summarize it briefly for our panel. No. So maybe if you try to sort it out, we will turn to another question online and then coming back to that question. I apologize for the technical problems in this part of the press conference. I have a question from Simon Barrow from Ecclesia from Scotland, asking a question about the pre-assembly for the indigenous people. And I will address that question to Bishop Marianne Svensson. We have had several pre-assemblies taking place or are taking place, finalizing today. And how do they bring the material from the different pre-assemblies into the assembly? How it's working, that they have maybe a message from the indigenous people. How are you going to handle that in the business plenaries?
That's a really, really good question. The pre-assembly with the indigenous people is so incredible because everyone is wearing all of our costumes and our clothes from all over the world, and it is so colorful to be together. Of course, where I live, I'm close to the people of the Pacific, but also close to the indigenous communities in North America. And what happens, the first place is that as we go into the assembly now, everybody is in color and is in all of the clothing, and there is that dream that someday we really are at one banquet table with all of us sharing equally of the good gifts of God's life. But that's the most important way, and we also are very careful in our achieving balance in membership of committees for the assembly of people from the indigenous communities as well. So that's an important piece.
Thank you, Bishop Marianne, and I think Dr. Agnes also want to comment on this question.
Thank you very much, Bishop. First of all, I attended a bit of the Indigenous Peoples Forum, very rich, and I'll encourage the journalists to interview them. If there is any hope for the future of the planet, we need to listen, we need to learn, we need to walk with the indigenous people. The short period I was there, I listened to the Sami lady, I listened to the Papua lady. I mean, just so rich. It's about relationships. Now, how do they get their message into the processes of the assembly? First, we have the Program Guidelines Committee. We have ecumenical conversations. We have a full ecumenical conversation devoted to indigenous peoples. And so their reports will come through the channels of the Program Guidelines Committee. The Business Committee will then also be informed where we are at. Through these processes, the Program Guidelines Committee will present a report to the plenary, and it is there that the Assembly will also hear the voices of these people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agnes. Then we will turn to one new question, and then we will come back to other questions afterwards.
And thank you. We have a gentleman here in the front row, please.
Thank you. Just one follow-up to your speech.
What, your name and news
from Switzerland. Reformiert is our publication. It's just the name Reformiert, Reformed. And we discuss a lot, how can we get closer by sharing bread and communion at the same table. And as we always have to hear, that's not possible. You can't, because the unity of the church is not here. So it will be after the second coming of Christ, even not there, as I heard. And I love this, and I think we should go a different step, not having a whole union, but to respect each other's communion as fully valid. Full stop. And then we can go further as churches, as Christians, and not deal with the whole issues of the Greek philosophers of the 4th, 5th centuries, how to understand bread and wine and what will happen in Eucharist. Just respect that we share the same hope, the same faith, and that we sit around the same table, and Christ is the person who invites. And that's it. Why is there never ever such an move in the World Council of Churches, in the ecumenical movement, that you go that step and leave out all these many faith and order discussions, baptism, Eucharist, ministry? It was at length discussed. We have many books about it, but we are still not there. And why not go another step? Thank you.
Thank you, Christoph. I think we will turn it to the acting General Secretary, Father Ivan Sauka, to respond.
Sorry, now I come as an Orthodox, so. We cannot deny our search for apostolic faith. This was the search of the reformers. They did not want to create a new church, but they were critical to medieval theology, saying they won't go back to the roots. If we give up of going to the apostolic faith, we lose our identity. So now I would say, why I say that, because in 2025, we will celebrate 1,700 since the Nicaea Council, where the whole Church of the inhabited world came together to coin or to put together what is the faith of the Church, the Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed. So it's very important that we have a common faith, which is not the faith of today, but is Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. This is very important. Secondly, even in the WCC, is not a fellowship of people who believe whatever. To be a member of WCC, we say those who accept Jesus Christ as God and Savior according to the Scriptures, to the glory of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Whoever does not have the Christology of the Apostolic Church and the confession of Trinity cannot be a member of WCC. Now, if we come to sacramental theology, then things get complicated. And this was an evolution. I didn't see anybody despising another organization or other confession, other church. I have no right to make any kind of sacramental analysis. What is your bread and wine? But you cannot impose on me also to go to a kind of relativistic theology, say, let's go all together, doesn't matter what, because for me, the sacramental theology is very important. It's important the priesthood, who is celebrating the Eucharist. It's important what happens in the liturgical service. And this was very much addressed by the Lima document and Lima liturgy. So, just to conclude, to be member of WCC, one is not obliged to recognize the full ecclesiality of another. This was the agreement. Because if I force on you to venerate bones, relics, or to kiss icons, will be a straight jacket on your theology. We never did that. And the others should not also impose on others to accept a relativistic approach to sacraments or to priesthood. So, ecumenical movement is a unity in tension. We are still on the way, searching for that common apostolic faith. We are still having things to do, to respect on the way, but not imposing one theology on the others. Yeah?
Thank you, Father Johan Sauka. Then we will turn to Dr. Agnes Abum to have the final word.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Father has answered, but I'd like also to add that one way in which we begin to respect one another is what the World Council has been offering spaces for with the various communions. So we have bilateral dialogues, we have multilateral dialogues, and he is a member of the joint working group on those. And I think it's important because how do you respect what you don't really understand and know? And so the spaces for dialogue offer opportunity for the various communions to begin to appreciate the other and in that sense begin to trust and walk with each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Agnes Abum. Thank you very much to the panel with Dr. Agnes Abum, His Eminence Metropolitan Nifon, Bishop Marianne Svensson, Acting General Secretary Professor Reverend Dr. Johan Sauka, and Bishop Petra Bosse-Huber, and Bishop Professor Dr. Heikki Springart, and Lord Mayor Frank Merelot. And a big thanks to all media following online and present in the room. A special thanks to the technical staff and the stewards. And stay tuned, because we are coming back every day with press conferences, and for media, also press briefings 8:15 a.m. and 4:15 in the afternoon. And we have also a press center open every morning from 7:30 until 9 o'clock in Karlsruhe. If you prefer to stay with us online, it's 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. So thank you very much for us, and stay tuned, more later on today.